What's up, guys? Today we're going to look at a few videos of people who used to be on the left who have decided to leave, and they provide all of the reasons as to why they've done it. It seems that most of them discovered that the entire thing was a lie. They've been indoctrinated and polarized against the right.
Growing up black, I mean, you're like actually taught in your home you're a Democrat. Republicans are racist. And I always believed that. It took like the first 30 years of my life to figure out that wasn't true. I just started watching both sides of the news. The very first political videos I came across was Larry Elder. Yeah. And then that little white supremacist Ben Shapiro came out. I started looking at all their videos.
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay.
Not African American. That's not a term I like.
The idea that sex or gender are malleable is not true.
And the first time I came across Ben Shapiro, I wanted to murder him because he always had an answer and he was always right. It's like this white supremacist smarter. But that didn't convert me yet. Then over a couple more years, I kept looking. I was like, man, everything that these people are saying is the truth. Yeah. And I started. Before I knew it, I was just sitting there for hours, just looking at him. Then Candace Owens gets recommended to me. Then I was like, man, how can I been this dumb all my life to be standing line? I remember my first time I voted, it was for Al Gore. I'm there standing in line. I'm like, why am I doing this? I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Bush is a white supremacist. I think a lot of people, especially minorities, have been lied to for so long, and they'd rather have that crutch of blaming white supremacy on them being just pathetic. Yeah, it's easy to point at a white person and say, that's why I can't that's why I'm succeed not in life. That's why my credit is messed up. The reason why I robbed that guy is because the white man won't give me a job. I had to rob that black person.
That's basically it right there.
And a lot of white people don't know, being black, when you hear that term racist or white supremacist, that's a very powerful word. It puts a lot of black people in a trance. Yeah. They stop thinking. And Democrats know it. That's such a powerful word. If they can keep black people upset and not thinking, all they have to use is just say he's racist, he's a white supremacist.
I mean, I try to tell black folks, look, man, we all are created equal. You know what they call us? A damn sellout. Or Uncle Tom.
That's a very good point that they mention. If you notice, the entire Democratic Party, their entire thing is built on being a victim. It stands to reason that they would sell you a victim complex. They would help to nurture this idea of victimhood inside of you and turn you against your victimizers. Victims need to have a victimizer. So who are these people who are victimizing us? That's got to be our political opponents, the right. It makes absolute sense as to why they would convince women that, the patriarchy is really the reason why everything sucks in your life. Convincing black people or any minority that, oh, it's the Republicans. They're the reason why your life sucks, why you don't have billions of dollars. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at Amala Ekpunobi. Let's see what she has to say about why she left the left.
Generally unhappy in my life, and I didn't know why. And then every day I would go into work, and you would hear nothing but hate and hate and hate and hate, specifically from people who claim to be tolerant. A big part of what made me question it was going into work and hearing a lot of hate towards white people. And I'm half black, and I was raised by the white side of my family. So it was a hard thing to go into work every day and hear from all these different people of all different races, many of whom were white, that they hated white people and just crazy, blatantly racist things. So that was my initial call out, and I went to the VP and I said, I don't understand why you feel this way about white people. You have people at this organization who are white working with you. Should I feel that way about the family that's raised me? And he said, you don't understand how oppressed you really are. You should be angry, and I'm not here to make you feel better about your family. Something to that effect.
Let's rate some hate comments from the tolerant left. First up, we have the very classic, you're a coon.
That was when I was like, oh, maybe I'm not on the right side of history on this one. And I found Larry Elder and Thomas Sowell, people at the Daily Wire. I found PragerU, and that was a light bulb moment for me. I did a full 180 spin. It was a big relief to realize that people were not out to get me. I grew up in a very conservative rural area. I was top of my class, valedictorian. I was surrounded by people who were white and conservative and never had any problems. But the ideology was so deep set in my mind that you couldn't have told me that there wasn't racism and patriarchy around me. So to realize that the systems and institutions in this country are actually founded to make me successful, that was such a big relief. It was one thing to feel deceived and tricked by the left, but it was another thing to get the relief that sort of comes along with conservatism and being able to know that you are fully accountable for how successful that you are.
Guys, think about how evil the left actually is. They're actively inciting people, breeding hatred and vitriol inside of them to turn them against the right. They convince them that they're victims because they have to be. They run on the idea of helping the oppressed and helping people come out of this oppression, how there are systemic issues in the country, systemic racism, systemic sexism, patriarchy, all of this garbage they keep dumping into your brain. It's absolutely evil to turn people against each other like this. If you actually stop and think critically about this, for one moment, just think about it. Is it true that the entire country is out to get me? Or is it possible maybe that I've been listening to people brainwash me my entire life and have developed a view on society that isn't true? These videos should be very eye-opening for you guys. Let's go ahead and jump into, and by the way, you guys can go check these people out on your own. I've given you their names. They have a lot of other videos that explain in detail some of the tactics that the left uses, and it's extremely evil.
Within 1 year, I went from marching with Black Lives Matter to meeting President Trump. Throughout that year, I asked myself some key questions that you might be asking yourself too. Why are we saying that we embrace love, equality, and acceptance, but I'm scared to express my opinion with my friends? Why are we saying that the right is racist and divisive when I'm saying no better for ourselves? Why are we saying that we stand for the truth, but we'll try and shut down anyone who offers up an alternative viewpoint? My name's Amir, and this is my story on how I went from the left, the right, and everywhere in between. Why do so many people hate me? I asked myself this a lot growing up. I was taught that being black was going to make my life way harder than it needed to be, and I was going to have to work harder than a lot of the white kids out there just because.
You notice a pattern here? Every one of these people who were black are actually saying the same exact thing. They were taught at a young age that, oh, by the way, since you're black, you're a victim and everyone hates you. They're going to make your life a living hell. You're going to have to work harder. This is how they do it. They indoctrinate these people at a young age and basically turn them and get them moving in a particular direction that will just brew this vitriolic hatred in them. This is exactly how the left will create the systemic problems that they claim to be here to help solve. They're here to expose the systemic issues, right? The systemic racism, the systemic sexism. They're here to expose that and help you escape the oppression. But in reality, these people are the ones creating the systemic racism. They're creating the systemic sexism. None of this stuff existed until they started training and indoctrinating people into having this vitriolic hatred towards the other side. This is how they do it. Otherwise, they'd have no purpose. You see, the left actually creates its own reason for existing. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. There'd be no need for them.
Not only that, but I was also taught that being gay is bad. And when I realized I was gay in 5th and 6th grade, I was like, oh crap, well, I'm gonna lock this away and put this in the closet. Now there's 2 check marks on me. Being black and gay and being told that both of these things were going to be oppressing me throughout my life set the foundation for a lot of my beliefs and my traumas as well. It created this victimhood mindset in me that festered through from elementary school all the way up to college. I thought the worst at all times, and I knew that this is not a life I wanted to live, but I also knew that I had to be the change I wished to see. I couldn't just give up, so I became more politically active. Why are we blaming white people for everything? I attended my first major Black Lives Matter rally, and while it felt really cool being a part of something, I noticed that not all the issues were being talked about. They weren't mentioning black fathers in the home.
More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock.
They were mentioning black.
So the reason why they don't actually bring up the real issues is because they can't do anything about them. One of the biggest reasons why fathers are absent from these homes is because the left has fought to give women more rights than men, especially when it comes to family courts. Custody is always awarded to the mother. So what ends up happening is you get a ton of single mothers raising kids. They're incentivized to have these divorces. If you take a look at any of these family courts, They basically have set up a system where if you go get a divorce, you get paid a whole bunch of alimony and you get child support. Oh, and by the way, you can keep doing this with a whole bunch of different men, and the government's got your back. We're going to make that guy pay you alimony and child support. What do you have to lose? Go find a new guy. As soon as you get bored, you can just go find a new guy and you're going to get paid for it. This is one of the biggest reasons why the left will never address issues that they themselves are the cause of. But they'll call them systemic issues. They'll find ways to perversely blame the actual victim, the father, for not being there, calling it abandonment. But when you take a look at these divorce statistics, 80 to 90% of divorces are initiated by women. So go ahead and keep trying to tell people that the fathers are abandoning their families. It makes no damn sense.
Got black people killing each other every day, actually outnumbering the deaths of the police versus, urban people.
It was just a giant we hate the cops and we hate white people party, and I'm not a part of that crew. I'm here to make change. I'm here to bridge people together, not to just complain in the streets and then do nothing about it. So I already left that rally with a bad taste in my tongue. I just did not like the vibe of that at all. But I still went back to college and I joined my Black Student Union and did a little, the local BLM movements around campus. That was pretty much it. What have I been lied to about? Like any other college student, I was on Tinder and I went on a date with this very nice gentleman. On this date, we were very brutal and honest with each other, and we got on the topic about politics and race relations, and he's white, and he brings up the "it's okay to be white" signs that were popping up all around campus. It was going viral, and we then got into this heated argument because I was telling him how racist and triggering it is for black people because we grow up in this society and we already know that it's okay to be white, but for some reason, because we're black, it's automatically not okay and we're having to live this oppressive life. But that's when he said that's exactly what they want us to think. They're wanting to divide us. They're wanting to stir up this reaction out of you. They're wanting to control your emotions. And it was at that moment that I realized that he had a point, because I wasn't in control of my emotions. My entire life I hadn't been. My entire life I viewed myself as a victim. My entire life I saw myself as, yep, because of what Twitter is saying, CNN is saying, MSNBC, being black, I am a victim. Being gay, I'm a victim. I gave agency to my entire life and my emotions over to mainstream media. So we end that conversation with him recommending me to just check out all sides of the media, because he just wanted me to just be aware at least of what the other side is saying and doing. Because at the time I hadn't been. At the time when I say like I was on the left, I only took in left-leaning news. I didn't even...
That's exactly how most leftists are. They live in echo chambers that keep amplifying all of this nonsense back to themselves. And how do you expect them to get out of a mindset of being oppressed, being a victim, and feeling better? Like, how can they possibly feel good and try to compete out there and succeed and be better? They won't. They generally will just sit there and feel depressed, just destroyed and distraught over the entire existence of their life. So all you'll see them do is complain and then look for someone else to blame. This is classic. Hitler employed these tactics.
Growing up, all I was told that the Republicans are racist and the Republicans are homophobic. Well, being black and gay, why would I ever give them the light of day?
All right, guys, so you get the picture. It seems like they're all independently saying the same things. It's almost like it's true.
My name is Dave Rubin. I am the newest host here on The Young Turks.
He was once a leftist.
Obviously, I'm for Obamacare.
You and I both started on the left.
Yeah.
Why did you switch?
Oh, I woke up.
Yeah, that's what happens.
He woke up, he says, after he started doing a podcast and interviewed guests like Larry Elder.
The most blatant racist example you can come up with right now.
Cops are more willing to shoot if the perpetrator is black.
What's your data?
Than white.
What's your basis for saying that? 70% of the homicides are black on black. The idea that a racist white cop and shooting unarmed black people is a peril to black people is BS.
And he just beat me with fact over fact over fact about how systemic racism doesn't exist. Not that racism doesn't exist.
The more people he interviewed, the more he questioned his former beliefs.
I realized that not everyone that these people disagreed with could be a racist and a bigot and a homophobe and a sexist. And that was the argument that was constantly being laid out. If there was a Republican that gave a speech and said, we should lower taxes, their answer was, he's racist. Now that actually makes no sense.
Rubin now considers himself a classical liberal, On his podcast, he tries to interview people from the left and the right.
Should government subsidize gay marriage and straight marriage the same way?
Rubin was surprised that many people on the right were willing to debate.
For all the differences that we might have, I'm pro-choice, most of them are pro-life. You know, I'm against the death penalty, most of them are for the death penalty. They're all willing to sit down and discuss ideas.
That's one of the key things right there, right? Everyone on the right is willing to sit down and discuss these ideas. But when you look at the left, they show up and start screaming, pushing signs in your face, causing all kinds of problems, burning buildings down. These people don't care about discussing any issues because they know ultimately their entire system of reasoning is based on a false premise. So how are they going to have a discussion? That should be one of the first indicators that these people are wrong and they're evil. These people are immoral, unconscionable individuals who are trying to turn and have turned half the country against the other half. And I would recommend the next time you hear anything in the media claiming that you're a victim of something or are being oppressed, ask yourself, is this true? Am I actually a victim of something? Am I being oppressed, or have I just adopted this mentality because it seems more convenient?